The Wii U's eShop is closing soon, but to make things even worse, some of the games are already gone. I am the Game Collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today we look at the games that were removed from the Wii U eShop.
Second Opinion Games.
Super Meat Boy, what a heavy hitter! In this 2D action platformer, you will die a lot, but don't worry, that's actually part of the whole game. Just trying to learn how to get to the exit as fast as possible, and then watch how many times you died in order to try to get to that exit. Basically, this game feels like total hell to me, because I just die non-stop. I don't like games this precise in your movements, and you really have to know the controls up and down to play it. However, my kids really love this one, and I watched them beat it quite a few times, only to try and play it myself and feel like a total idiot, which is the gameplay that you're watching here. I do recognize this game as one of the best of its type, and it definitely started a trend that goes on to this very day. Escape from Flare Industries. This has a familiar feel to it. It's a 2D puzzle, get to the exit style game where when you die, you respawn pretty much immediately. The catch is here is that everything kills you. Even jumping by yourself will most likely lead to your death. That is unless a light is being shined on you, which you control with one of the analog sticks, which means you have to move a bit slower than you want to, but if you want to beat your best time, then you have to speed things up, which means you're going to make lots of mistakes. Now, most of the puzzles here are simple, at least at first, but then later they get excruciatingly difficult. Sometimes you're going to have to save little creatures along the way, and even though the graphics are really simple, it does end up being fun for people that like this style of gameplay. AKA, it's, the Super Meat Boy style. I told you that was copied. The Deer God. You were a hunter that shot a deer, so now you have to prove your worthiness to turn back to human by the Deer God itself, which means you have to be a deer running through an 8-bit in style level that looks freaking gorgeous. Also, there's just haunting music going on in the background. There's also some RPG elements here, which means you could pick up power-ups that you could use at your own disposal. There's also a day and night cycle that happens really fast. And the longer you could stay alive, the more fleshed out and grown up your deer becomes. You're gonna have to stop and eat food every so often and save some of your other deer brethren from being attacked by wild animals. And the controls actually feel similar to Super Meat Boy, so if you're used to running and the platforming and that, you'll have no problem fitting in this game. Also, even though it looks 8-bit, I cannot believe how beautiful the graphics look. It's probably mostly because of the massive amount of parallax scrolling going on here, and I love the looks of the stages overall. This game is unbelievably fun, and it is a shame that it's going to be missed out by practically everybody. Just like a lot of the other games on this list. Man, why'd they have to get rid of this one? But if the Deer God moves too fast for you, maybe you should slow things down with Tengami. This is a artsy style game where you play as a character inside of a pop-up picture book. Now, because of this, you can manipulate the environment in certain ways. You could tap on your touchscreen to move your character around, and the whole game tells a story, but without any words. It's mostly a puzzle game that moves very slow. The Japanese-style music and the artsy backgrounds really blow me away. And I really loved all the creativity that went into this title because they did not hold back. For a little more in-depth storytelling, maybe you should check out Costume Quest 2. Now, this is a JRPG style where you play as a bunch of kids running around in your Halloween outfits, and you can find other outfits as you play through the game. And when you jump into a fighting sequence, then it really goes into the turn-based style JRPG aspect. That's sort of similar to the Mario Brothers RPG games in how you have to time your button presses to defeat your enemies. and your kids seem to grow up into adults just so they could deal out the massive amount of punishment. The game itself has its own style of sense of humor, which is a little over the top and hilarious at some points, meaning it's one of the funniest RPGs I think I ever played. However, sometimes it feels a little generic with its lack of voice acting, but if you can get past that, this is a terrific experience. Armored Acorns is another game where your character wears a costume, only it's not as easy as just putting on a helmet here. Your character is actually a squirrel, which means this mech was designed for squirrels to pilot around in and beat up people and other machines. Who would do such a thing? To make matters worse, if you beat up enough, you could transform into a giant mech with a machine gun. Giving a squirrel a machine gun is a heck of a bad idea. Now, this game is definitely best when playing with 3 of your friends because it's a 4-player beat-em-up-a-thon. And the sense of humor here is also pretty terrific, and the music is pretty much average. This feels a lot like Castle Crashers, and I would put it right up there with that game, which is quite a bit of praise if you ask me. Now, it does take advantage of the Wii U functionality, meaning that you could scan certain objects and then on the tablet it would say how many hit points it has, or maybe some tips on how to play through the game, which is pretty darn interesting, meaning that if you do manage to pick it up for another system, that functionality is completely stripped out, making it lesser of a game in my book. So, sadly, you probably should have already downloaded this one for the Wii U because it's gone. Octocopter is an homage to the Karoon series. Instead of piloting a little helicopter that's slow moving, you're piloting a submarine with an octopus attached to it, meaning that you're just gonna spin forever. Now that's actually the whole goal of this game, is order to spin through the different puzzles and maybe even take out some giant bosses like a narwhal. I always knew they had something evil going on with them. Now, one of the things that I love about this game is how inventive it is. The bad thing about the game is that they changed the controls from the Karoon game that it was sort of based on. Also, the music. It's either not there or it's really lame. It doesn't have the same personality and feel that the Karoon games had, but it definitely has the great level design. So if you could look past the fact that this is a carbon copy, well then you're gonna have a great time with it. Lost Reavers was a third-person shooter AAA action title meant to kick off the Wii U eShop. However, after about 2 years, it was completely abandoned, and because it was online only, means that everyone misses out on this game. Even if you still have it downloaded on the Wii U, you cannot play at all, which is not only sad, but it also makes you feel like Nintendo just stole money from you. Badland's Game of the Year Edition, a game that was so high quality and looked so beautiful, I didn't think Nintendo was ever stupid enough to get rid of it off of their eShop, to the point where I put it on my top 30 must-have downloadable games. And then I found out through the comments that it was already gone, meaning that people are gonna feel extra sad about this experience where you play as a bat trying to get through like 500 freaking levels. You could even pick up little clones of yourself and you try and get them to the exit, and that's no easy task because this bat pops really easy. I like all the puzzle aspects, and when you die, you don't start up too far back, just far enough back that you have to think fast in order to clear the level, but it's always doable. I like the silhouette art style even better than that of games like Limbo because you can actually see a little bit what's going on in the background, but chances are you can't focus on the background too long and hard unless you're watching one of your friends play because it's just really tough. You have to be focused non-stop in order to get anywhere in this game, and it is one heck of a quality title. Just like Star Ghost. Now, this was deleted off the Wii U eShop right around the time that the Switch's eShop became available, meaning that they just pulled it off one console to put it onto another. Now that's kind of confusing to me because Nintendo is really all about picking your pocket. How many times have you bought Mario Brothers? Of course, when you picked it up for the Wii U, you definitely would have picked it up again for the Switch because it happens to be incredibly good. Every single time you play it, it's a little bit different. Also, it has a risk versus reward system here because of the orbs that you collect. You only have the one life unless you have 50 or more orbs, in which case when you die, you can buy another extra life. You could also buy power-ups in between levels. And the whole way that it dynamically changes the levels, meaning that they're different nearly every single time you play it, means that you're going to have a different experience each time. Also, there's huge boss battles that will make you crap your pants if you could freaking survive them. They are incredibly difficult, and the music is what draws the whole experience together, because between that and the sound effects, you definitely feel like you're playing a AAA Nintendo title. Wind Up Night is one of those reflex runners. You know the style game where you endlessly run forward and you have no real control of your character, other than the fact that you can hack and slash all your enemies down to size. You can maybe hold your shield over your head against different things falling from the sky. You can perform a double jump or roll under spikes that want to lunge out at you. Now, if you run into a wall, you will immediately turn around and run the opposite direction. Now, one of the things about this game that makes it stand out, other than its gorgeous graphics, you could replay each of the levels here with a different challenge after you beat the level the first time. Maybe this time you don't collect any coins along your way, or maybe there'll be extra challenging doodads to try and find along your adventure. Now, this wind-up little night is rather adorable. When you die, you never go too far back, so you're gonna wanna always push forward. I like it when developers really understand the market that they're making these games for. It's basically just a huge time waster, and it ends up being a ton of fun because you get pretty emotionally connected to this little toy knight as he runs through the area. And it happens to be one of the best 2D adventure games on the Wii U, just like our last game. Kickin' Finick. This is a 2D action-adventure game that's super high quality, but the downside is you can't jump. It's just a love story about a boy and his robot and his giant freaking gun that he finds. Now, in order to jump, you have to use your giant freaking gun to propel you into the air. You could fire 2 shots, and then maybe as the game moves on, you could fire more shots or pick up upgrades to your giant gun, which means it will fling you even farther up into the air. Sometimes you have to shoot down other robots and tackle massive boss battles, and most of the time you're gonna be launching yourself really fast through the stage. This is a wet dream for speedrunners out there, and you might think that it controls a little rough, but no, this is one of the best controlled action platformer games I've played in my entire life, because everything slows down when you decide to start aiming your giant gun. So, yeah, this is really intense. And the whole thing's done with some weird Dutch camera angles, too, to make everything feel more alive and inventive. It's never hard to figure out where to go or what to do next. If you die, you just get moved back a little tiny bit by your little robot helper friend, and the whole game is just adorable. Now, you most likely never even seen this on the Wii U eShop. I know I never have, and sadly, it's been gone for quite some time. I don't even know if it even made it to the eShop here in America, because I was told about it by some of my foreign viewers, which means I had to go out of my way to track this down and even mod one of my Wiis to install it, which is what you would have to do with all of the games that I talked about today, because all of them are worth playing. I wish they would never close down the Nintendo eShop, but what's even worse is when they remove games that were already on it. It pretty much feels like stealing, if you ask me. But of course, that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching.
Traction field downgraded. Weapons safe. Sector clear. Great landing.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I had a great time making it, and no, this was far from all of the games they removed from Nintendo's eShop. There's actually a lot more of them. So I want to know what your favorite game that was lost to time because of this barbaric practice. And until later, I will see you again, guys.